let's get into the NBA stuff. And Dave, I would love to go to Soapy first, but like I prepared him at the beginning of the show, two of the basketball topics are very close and near and dear to your heart. So I'm going to kick it to you first. Ja Morant, they did have an MRI on his ankle that he injured last night. Came down while going for a block. Was jumping around on his non-hurt ankle, getting out of bounds. They had to wheelchair him out. MRI came back moments before we started games live. He will miss 3 to 5 weeks of the season. I mapped it out before the show. If it is 3 weeks, he is coming back at the end of January, probably the last week of January. If it is 5 weeks, he's coming back possibly the third week of February. I will ask you, you are the Ja fanboy. He is your favorite from that draft class.
Your rookie of the year.
How is this going to affect the Memphis season this year?
Yeah, it pretty much just shits on the idea that they're a playoff team, Ricky. Unfortunately, the hopes were Ja Morant could sustain the team over until Justice Winslow and Jaren Jackson Jr. returned from their respective injuries. And I, as a secondary team Memphis Grizzlies fanboy, was very hopeful and very positive on the outlook of, hey, Ja can cook on his own. We saw that literally out the gates. This guy is so fucking good. And he can score just so aggressive. He gets to the bucket. He always gets to the bucket. That's always been the key to success for him. Just he's got another gear. And I'm honestly surprised that this happened on a block attempt where it was a fluke. He landed on an ankle and rolled. I forget which player on the other team's ankle it was, but he literally landed on that guy's foot and rolled his own ankle.
I think it might have been TLC.
I think you're right. Yeah, I remember yelling at TLC about that at that time. I'm surprised it didn't happen on a dunk attempt or a layup gone wrong, because that's he looks, shades of Derrick Rose out there, and that scares the shit out of me. About 80% of the time when he goes up for a layup or to yam it down, I'm like, oh please. But yeah, it pretty much shits on the playoff hopes. Weirdly enough, Kyle Anderson filled in as the high score for the Grizzlies in that game.
Say it right, Dave. Giles Anderson. Giles Anderson. It's all about the Jays.
Yeah, Giles Anderson, slow-mo out there. Filled in as the leading scorer. We'll have to see they're going to have some interesting tricks up their sleeves.
Soapy, what are your thoughts?
I'm in the same boat as Dave. I think it puts them into such a tough spot now. Obviously, do we have a timetable of when Triple J comes back? Probably not for a while.
The expectation was the end of January. The last I'd heard was Justice would be back first, then Jaren. But Justice, I think, was going to be like mid-Jan, and Jaren was late Jan. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe again, there's a lot of rumor mill shit off of the subreddit, so no one in there is a doctor.
Yeah, and the reason why, I fully agree with it is one of those things where, I love Triple J. He came from, my college team, the Spartans.
Yep.
Basically, should have rode that bandwagon over to the Memphis Grizzlies, but I didn't.
Should have. Would have been smart.
But it's one of those things of, I don't think when he and Winslow return, I don't think they can steer the ship good enough to still secure that type of playoff spot for them. But don't get me wrong, I love those two. But it's one of those things that losing a player of Morant's caliber, it is going to be tough. Because I remember before the show, or I think it was before we even started games live, Ricky was reading me through the schedule, and I'm like, there's a few games. If I had Jaws,
I have it up. Do you want me to read through it now? Because I was going to mention them now.
Oh, yeah.
So if let's say he misses 3 weeks. So 3 weeks from today would be January 19th. For the sake of argument, let's say he comes back January 25th, which would be the start of the last week of January. In that time, they're playing Boston, Charlotte, 2 games against the Lakers, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Cleveland again, 2 games against Minnesota, the 76ers, the Suns, 2 games against Portland, and then a game against the Kings. To where it's there's some winnable games in there, but Cleveland's playing well. The Lakers, depending on who's resting and stuff. Brooklyn looks on fire. Sixers look good. Suns look good. Portland looks to be catching fire after a 2 kind of not so great games from them. And if he misses 5 weeks, it then goes to Sacramento again, the Bulls, 2 games against San Antonio, Indiana, and then the Houston Rockets. So, like, yeah, there might be some winnable games in there, but, like, to me, I look at it and I go, that is not the easiest schedule. And then when Ja comes back, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games left of the season when he comes back.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big ask. The one upside is if Justice can get back quick enough,
yeah,
there's an opportunity. We saw what he can do as a point guard of a team on that Miami Heat team about a year and a half ago now. He excelled. He absolutely thrived in the role of being a point guard. He had his shot working from the outside. He can create for others. His size allowed him to take advantage of a lot of matchups. Like that's one upside that we could get out of this whole situation is we get to see point guard Justice Winslow yet again. Because right now, obviously, Tyus Jones will be taking over as the point guard.
Yeah.
Tyus, wait, which Jones? Hang on. It is Tyus.
Yeah, Tyus Jones, I think.
Yeah, Trey's on the yeah. The Joneses. I always get them mixed up. But yeah, so that's the upside is depending on Justice Winslow's return timetable, we may get to see him as a true point guard yet again and see if he can thrive and pick up where he left off because he looked like he was at his best playing ball in hand, leading an offense. So I'm excited for the opportunity, but again, his hip issue, he didn't have surgery on it. It was just a rehab session kind of a thing. So we're going to have to wait and see how cautiously they bring him along. That's my concern is if they go too long without him and then it's him and Ja both trying to come back at the same time. You know, obviously Ja's going to get the minutes. So what does that mean for Justice? And is he going to run the second unit kind of thing? I don't know. They got a lot of shit to work out, but that is a team that they've got so much young potential that I hope they don't rush anyone back. And I think they're playing this smart by being like, hey, you know, we got injuries. We're not rushing anyway back to start the season. They could. It was they'll be ready early season.
Yeah. And
early this season, it's not a long season, guys.
Yeah.
It's a 72 game season. So,
and now I'm looking at ESPN. Here's all the guys they have labeled as out on the depth chart. Ja, Triple J, Winslow, like we mentioned. Then besides that, they have Xavier Tillman, rookie. DeAnthony Melton and Tyus Jones. So they have 6 people to where I look at this lineup and
that's
I'm
all
like,
the guards, by the way.
Yeah, by the way, all their guards.
Too?
Right now Tyus is out, it says. So like I'm thinking you're running a lineup of, okay, we're gonna put Grayson at the 1 because he kind of ran point guard in college. Then you can maybe see what Desmond Bane has, put him at the 2. Yeah. You've got then.
Well, no, you got Jalen Brooks at the 2.
Do you bump Jalen? Because here's the thing I was thinking. Do you bump Jalen to the 2, Slow-Mo to the 3, Jandon Jark plays the 4, Jonas Valanciunas at the 5, and then what? Fucking Desmond Bane's your 6 man?
I would leave him to run the second. Yeah, you need a ball handler out there. And obviously between Slow-Mo and Grayson Allen, both of those guys can run a second unit as a primary ball handler. Now there's ideal. Yeah. But D'Anthony Melton, I forgot. I just saw it. The COVID protocols. Yeah. 3rd straight game.
It's going to be a bitch this season.
Yeah, so it's going to suck. That's what injuries suck, and it sucks even more in a condensed season. And just going to have to learn to live through it. But it is a huge blow for the Memphis Grizzlies to be without all of their star power this year at this chunk of time. So, but hey, Jonte Porter might be playing soon.
He may.
Again, this is upside. We got Killian Tilly, Jonte Porter. Like they're the hype beasts of the NBA right now. They are the young team who everybody's hurt, but also everybody could be coming back. They will make a late run probably, but it does look like, and I know from my personal predictions don't match with yours, Ricky, but for me, this would definitely mean that a team like the Pelicans would push into that playoff slot for them.
Both you and Soapy are trying to either jump the gun or read my mind today, because the last thing I was going to ask, I was going to go to Soapy first. This may open up on my main screen. No, it did not. Good. So Dave had the Grizzlies at 10, Pelicans at 11.
Yep.
I had the Grizzlies at 11, and Soapy had the Grizzlies at 10. So we all had them in the same spot, either 10 and 11. Soapy, I was going to go to you first. Yes or no, does this injury for sure make it to where Grizzlies are not making the playoffs this year?
I think it really is going to depend when he comes back, but I think it's one of those things that I would definitely say it's a safe bet to say they're not making it.
Dave? Go ahead. Didn't know you had more, Soapy. Go ahead.
It was mostly just it's one of those things that I had them, like, obviously, you know, a 10, 10's not that high, but it's one of those things of where it's, I feel I've mostly put them up there of, like, Ja's going to continue to show, like, he's one of the best players in the league already.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, seeing all the guards are out, it's like you're starting to have to rely on people that, like, you don't want even running, like, a second unit to now run the main unit. Like, it's just it's a little rough.
Yeah.
Dave, I think you kind of gave your answer, but just in case you didn't, you say no, they're out?
Correct. I think that this causes them to miss their slot for the playoffs. I think it's going to be such a tight race with 10 less games. Every game missed is a big deal. And again, Tyus Jones also being out too. Like, they have no point guard. It's going to be massive. So I'm hoping that he is healthy and he's able to come back from this without a problem. But I think 3 weeks is incredibly optimistic and unrealistic at the same time.
Yeah, and I mean, now this opens it in my mind too. I'm yet again Grizzly fans. I'm sorry. No, like, I had the Pelicans in, but even if they're not the one sneaking in, this now opens the door for maybe and yet again, it's only 3 games, but like the Timberwolves are 2-1, the Spurs are 2-1. How is this even going to open the door for the Kings now to make it in?
Let's not say things we actually.
Does this help the Warriors towards, like, oh, we could now make the play-in tournament because they have not looked good to start the season?
Terrible.
No,
there's a difference.
Not good. Not good. Not so good. Yeah. Kelly Oubre finally made a non-dunk shot, so like there's that.
That's the upside of the Warrior season right now.
Yeah. That he is.
You got to worry about some other problems there.
We know when Draymond's coming back.
We do. Well, you do because it's on your fantasy team.
Don't worry, I'm already prepped today. I can't wait for that spicy 2 points, 2 rebound, one assist, 1 steal.
The quintuple single.
Yeah.